So today we're looking at creating common denominators, and the reason that we want to look at common denominators is because sometimes when we're dealing with operations in fractions like addition and subtraction, we can't add pieces or subtract pieces that are different sizes. So what we're going to be doing today is just simply looking at how to manipulate fractions and create equivalent fractions that are going to have common denominators. So what you can see here is we've got two different fractions. We've got 1/2 and 3/8. Now you can see that the denominator are different. What we want to do is we want to try and make them the same. So what we would do is we would try and find multiples of these denominators and on both sides and see when they match up. We want to use the smallest one because we always like to use smaller numbers in math. It's just much easier for us to use. Why use numbers that are really astronomically large? So let's take a look and see what kind of multiples we get here. So if I take a look at 2 times 1 gives me 2, 2 times 2 gives me 4, 2 times 3 gives me 6, 2 times 4 gives me 8. Now notice, this 8 and this 8, they're common. They are the same number, which is what we want here. We want to use common denominators. So I'm going to change this entire fraction right here. It's no longer going to be 1/2. I'm going to use the multiple of denominator of 8. And how will I get that? It's actually relatively simple. If I take a look at 2, I multiply 2 times 1 to get 2, then by 2, then by 3, then by 4. So if I multiply this by 4 and multiply this by 4, I'm going to end up with 4 over 8. Now I know that 4/8 already is half. So this common denominator, lowest common denominator, is going to be 8. So that works out perfectly for us to do now any type of operations. Take a look at another one. So here is 4/5 and 5/6. Now if I look at this one 5 and 6, they don't go into each other. 5 won't go into 6, and 6 I can't divide to make 5, so I'm going to probably end up having to change both. So I'm going to do exactly what I just did beforehand, and I'm going to put down all the multiples of 5. So 5 times 1 is 5, 2 would be 10, then 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and then I'm going to stop, and I'm going to do the 6, and we've got 6, we got 12, we got 18, we got 24, we got 30, we got 36. Now wait a second, if you look here, 30 and 30 are the same, which means that I have a lowest common denominator of 30 in this case. So I'm going to move, sorry about that, I didn't have my Apple Watch on silent, it's rectified now. So what I'm saying is that my common denominator is going to be 30 on both sides. Now, how did I get that? I took 5 and I multiplied it by 1, 2, 3, 4, by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But notice, I multiplied it by 6. It's the same as this number right here. Now, interestingly enough, if I multiply 5 times 6, I could multiply 6 times 5. And they're going to give me the same number because 5 groups of 6 is the same as 6 groups of 5. I know it doesn't look like a 5. Let me just redraw that there. 6 groups of 5. Now, like with all fractions, when we're finding some type of commonality, we have to multiply the bottom and the top by the same thing. So I'm going to multiply that by 6 and multiply that by 5. 4 times 6, or 4 groups of 6, is 24, and then my second one is 25. So these are common denominators that we're working with. We'll do one more, but this time we'll do a triple fraction and we'll match them up. So let's do 1/2, 1/4, and 1/8. Now looking at all of these, I know that 2 goes into 4, and I know that 2 also goes into 8. I know that 4 goes into 8, so therefore my common denominator will probably be 8. But what I'll do is I will take and I will go back and list all those multiples. And as you become more familiar with this, you don't have to just write the multiples out. You can just kind of visually see it and use your multiplications to solve this on your own. So if I look at the multiples of 4, I've got 2, I've got 4, I've got 6, and I've got 8. Yep, 8 and 8 for sure. I've got 4, and I've got 8, and then I've got 8 here. So you can see that the common denominator is going to be 8. So I'm going to take this guy and move it down to here, 1/8. I know that my other common denominator is going to be 8, and my other one is going to be 8 as well. Now, how did I get 2 to 8? I multiplied it by 1, I multiplied it by 2, I multiplied it by 3, and I multiplied it by 4. So I'm going to times this by 4, times this by 4, and I end up with 4/8. And then this guy I took and multiplied it by itself, and then one other, so I've got 2, so I times it by 2, and I end up with 2/8. So I have 4/8 and 2/8 and 1/8. This has been a real quick video on creating common denominators, a very, very important skill for you to use when you are dealing with fractions.